Okay, Shalom Aleichem, welcome everyone as we are continuing in Masechet Sanhedrin. We're on Daf Lamed Amud Bet on the art scroll that is 30B-4. And what we've been dealing with, we ended up last week, we ended off with the great Hidush and Halacha from Rabbi Yehoshua ben Korha, which was, if I say, I'm a witness, and I come and I say, I saw Reuven give $1,000 on Monday, someone to borrow. And then the next guy comes and says, I saw him give $1,000 on Tuesday. And we said, we'll mitzaref, we'll combine their two testimonies. Now this person owes that money to him because we'll combine the testimonies. So we're going to now continue on the combination of testimonies when certain things are not adding up. Just like here, I said I saw it on Monday, he said I saw it on Tuesday. Other cases of when certain things are not adding up, do we still combine them to make it an idut, or do we say not? Let's take a look. Amar Yehuda, idut hamacheshet zu et zu bevdikut keshira b'dinei mamanot. Okay, this is really next chapter's topic, or beginning topic at least. Chakiras and bedikas. When witnesses come to the Betin have to establish that they're good witnesses. The first thing we have to do is ask them what's called chakirot. Chakirot is to establish the when and where. The when and where. We ask them what day of the month, what year in the Shemitah cycle, and such questions. Then that's chakirot. Bedikot is when we ask them additional questions to establish exactly what happened. To establish the what and the how. So chakiros is the where and the when, whereas b'dikos is the what and the how. So Yehuda said that we have Adam, and they come to give testimony about mammon. Now, mammon, money, the Chum said you don't need chakiros and b'dikos, but let's say they were asking the Adam chakiros, now up to b'dikos, up to questions about the how and what. And they're asking the Adam. The Adam say they saw it at the same time. The when and where was the same, but each one is saying they saw something different. They're talking about the same event, but each one is saying they saw something different. So let's take it Amarava. What when and we say this is still going to be kosher. If they saw something different, it's still going to be kosher testimony. Rav is going to explain how far we take this. Mistabra, Milta the Yehuda. You know when this is, when we say if their testimony doesn't match, when the how and what doesn't match, we say it's still kosher. That's in cases of peripheral detail, secondary detail. For example, we're giving testimony about the loan, and I saying I saw the loan. You take out the money. He took it out of a white wallet. And the other guy says, I saw him take it out of a black wallet. So everyone agrees there was a loan. Everyone agrees it was $1,000. Everyone agrees when it was, where it was. The argument is, or the contradiction in the testimony is, I'm saying it was a white wallet, and the second witness is saying it was a black wallet. So in such a case, this is Rabbi Yehuda when he says that if the edut, the testimony, is contradicting one another, it's still kosher. It's about such a case. Cases where peripheral details are not matching. Aval echad omer mana shahor ve'echad omer mana lavan emistra. But if it's in the actual primary details, then and it's a contradiction then we're not going to be mitzvah, according to Rava and Rabbi Yehuda. So what's an example? The Gemara says, where witness A says he gave him 1,000 coins, and they were black coins, very dark, used up, or the alloy silver was a darker silver. And the other witness says he gave him 1,000 coins, but he gave him white coins. They were brand new, they were shiny. So that's not a peripheral detail. It's not coming out of the pocketbook. That is the loan. That is what I'm saying he owes him. So in such a case, if in this case the contradictory statements of the witnesses are there, okay. Now, here Yehuda says this only applies to cases of dinei mamanot, cases of money. So he's implying that if it was a case of nifashot, of death penalty, capital punishment, then we wouldn't combine even periphery details, even secondary details. So the Gemara has a question on this. You're saying periphery details, secondary details. In capital cases, we're not going to combine them. Chizr said, if one witness says, we saw him murder him with a sword, and another witness said, I saw him murder him with a dagger. Sword and dagger is a huge difference. One's big, one's small. So that's in the primary detail. How he killed him, with what he killed him. You're not going to combine them. But if one of them says the murderer was wearing black clothes, and the second one says no, the murderer was wearing white clothes, good testimony, and we're going to combine them. So you see, not like Rabbi Yehuda. Yehuda said if it's capital punishment, it's only if it's mammon, then you can mix periphery details. But if it's a capital punishment, he implied, you do not mix periphery details. And here we see from Rav Chizda, that even in capital cases, periphery details that do not match are still combined. Gemara says you can't ask a question. Rav Yehuda and Rav Chizda are on the same level, and therefore they can argue with each other in what the halacha is. You cannot compare one person's opinion to another person's opinion who have the ability to have these different opinions and then say, oh, it's not making sense. They are both of that caliber, that they both have those opinions. Okay? So far, so good. Now, Hadri Omri. In Hadri, they say, I feel Echad Omri Mona Shafar. Echad Omri Mona Lovan Mitzraf. So, Nahadri, they argue with Rav. Rabbi Yehuda said, if the testimony in B'dikos, in the how and what, don't add up, we combine them. Rav said, to a degree, we combine them in periphery details, we don't combine them in primary details. Now, the Chachamim in the Hadith said, no, we combine them even in primary details. Even if I say all the coins are black and the second one says all the coins are white, we'll still combine them. Kemal, who do they go according to? If you think they go to Shubin Karcha, maybe go to Shubin Karcha. Shubin Karcha said, I come Monday, I say I saw it on Monday, he says he saw it on Tuesday, he still combines. Maybe I say black and he says white, still combined it. Shubin Karcha. Aim with the Shemad, the Libby Shubin Karcha. Hey, Khadalem Khasha Dade. Hey, Khasha Dade, mi Omar. So you can't compare it to Shubin Karcha. Why? When Rav Shimon Karcha says, according to Shimon Karcha, he never talked about contradictory statements, right? Think about it. He said, if I come Monday, if I say I saw it on Monday, and he said he saw it on Tuesday, no one's contradicting what they're saying, what they're saw. I'm saying what I saw on Monday. You're saying you saw what happened on Tuesday. Here, we're both saying we were there Monday, and I saw him give black coins, and you say you saw him give white coins. So the statement itself is already contradictory, because we're both saying we saw the same thing, and we're both saying we saw something else. Where I come on Monday and I come on Tuesday, okay, I saw what I saw, you saw what you saw. Therefore, he'll combine it. But if I stay, we both said we were there at the same time, Monday, 12 o'clock, this place, that month, that year. And I say I saw him give black point. You say you're giving white points. Our statements ourselves are contradictory. So the Rishuv and Karcha would not say they combine. So who is the Naharja going according to that say it is combined? Is combined. Elam, who the Omar, Kihog Tana. Rather, they're learning like this Tana, the Tanya. Talking about Amr Bilazar, or Shimon Elazar. Why nechelku beit Shammai ubeit Hillel al shtei chitim edim. Shahat omrim atayim v'hat omrim emered maneh. Yesh v'cha matayim maneh. Okay, this is what happened. Comes to Betin, Reuben and Shimon, two witnesses. They say, we know that Shlomo owes David. They say they know that Shlomo owes David 200 coins, 200 zuz, right? Let's use dollars, $200. And then comes Levi and Yehuda, and they say we know Shlomo owes David 100 coins. So now what happens? Now, one set of witnesses says 200. Second set of witnesses say 100. So do we say that someone here is lying and cancel out both? According to Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, no, you don't do that. What you will do was say that he owes them only 100. Because there is 100 inside the 200. The other 100 I don't know about. One saying it's only 100, one saying it's 200. The other 100 I don't know about. But the 100 that both agree to, he has to pay. They're not contradictory. We're combining them because they're not contradictory. That 100 portion. Whereas Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel argue on al kat ahad. When you come to a kat ahad, you come to one set of witnesses. So what happens? Reuben comes and says, that Shlomo owes David 200 coins. Then Shimon comes and says, Shlomo owes David 100 coins. So you have two witnesses, not two sets of, just two witnesses. And one is saying 200, and one is saying 100. But Shammai said they're arguing. They're arguing, therefore there's no good edut. You cannot get anything from this. But Obed Hill Amrim, Yesh v'chal matayim maneh. He says, yes, one is saying 200 and one is saying 100. But at the end of the day, both are agreeing that at least 100 is being owed. Therefore, the 100 is owed and it goes to him. You have to pay it. Therefore, that's why the Nahandri said, if I said I saw 1,000 black coins, and the second witness said, I saw 1,000 white coins being given, we still make him pay. We would start the edut, even though it's white and black, and it's in the actual primary details of the loan. Still, we combine it. Why? Because in the end of the day, everyone agrees that he owes him 1,000 coins. It was white, it was black. Same thing like here, 200, 100, but there's a common agreeable point. The woman starve the edut to that common agreeable point. That's the way the Chachamim and the Hadrei learns. Now, another case. Echad Omer Chavit Shel Yain. One says that Reuven lent Shimon a barrel of wine. But Echad Omer Chavit Shel Shemen. And one said, and Shimon come and said that the second one is coming and said that Reuven lent Shimon oil. So you have the same two people, Reuben and Shimon. Reuben lending to Shimon. Each one saying they're lending a barrel, but one is saying it was a barrel of oil, and one says it's a barrel of wine. It was such a case, and it came in front of Rav Ami. They came to Rav Ami, and Rav Ami said, okay, You're saying he owes him a barrel of wine. You're saying he owes him a barrel of oil. So Ami said, pay him the value of a barrel of wine from the value of a barrel of oil. Gemara says, come on, who is he holding like? Do you think it's like a Shimon ben Elazar who said in Beit Hillel that what he say? If one says you owe 200 and one says you owe 100, so what do? Everyone says at least there was 100, right? So therefore, give the 100. So maybe we're going to say the same thing here. Everyone says it was a barrel. You're Shimon ben Elazar. And the Shimon ben Elazar, Hekti v'chal matai mona, ki gavna mi omar. It's not true if Shimon ben Elazar would agree in such a case. Why? When you say 200, when you say 100, there is in the 200, there is a 100. It exists there. Here you're telling me it's a barrel of wine, and one saying it's a barrel of oil. You can't have a barrel of wine in a barrel of oil. You can't have a barrel of oil in a barrel of wine. You could have 100 and 200. So therefore it equals up. Therefore you have an edut. But Shimon ben Elazar may not have agreed here. You cannot say, oh, you're saying, oh, barrel of wine, you barrel of this. So a barrel of wine does not exist in a barrel of wine. A barrel of oil does not exist in a barrel of wine. And don't tell me the barrel exists. The barrel is a barrel. No one cares about the barrel. We're talking about what's inside of it. So he would never agree to that. Miyamar, Shimon ben Elazar state that way. So on top of 31.82. So the Gemara says, Lloyd Tricha, that wasn't the case. The case was Ledame. They never said that he owed them the actual barrel. Rather, what the agent said was he owes them the value of a barrel of wine, and he owes them the value of a barrel of oil. Now that we're dealing with money, in the value of a barrel of oil exists the value of a barrel of wine. Because in the times of the Talmud, at least, a barrel of wine was cheaper than a barrel of oil. So if you're saying he owes him the value of wine, a barrel of wine, and you're saying the second one says he's owing the value of barrel of oil, in the value of the barrel of oil exists the value of a barrel of wine. So therefore, you can be mitzvah if they do it. You can combine the testimony and say that he owes them the value of the barrel of wine. Okay, so far so good. All these cases again and again are trying to show us how a dut testimony can still be combined. This is talking about mammon, talking about money cases, or still can be combined, even though some of the details are not matching. But somehow we'll find a way to still combine them. Fine, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, unfortunately, I just want to confirm. I keep losing your every second or third word. Is it my service or is everyone like that?
Solomon, do you have any issue in hearing it?
No.
You're good,
No?
yeah?
I'm good.
Probably your end. I'm using Fios over here, Verizon Fios. Should be
Then
good.
then it's definitely on my side.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not what is inside the barrel. It's it's not the barrel itself. It's what's inside of it that really matters. Correct?
In this case,
Yes.
they wasn't that he owed him the barrel of oil or owed him the barrel of wine. Rather, what they said was he owed him the value. He owed him the value. Now, in the value of a barrel of oil exists a barrel of wine. Therefore, the testimony can be combined, and therefore he'll owe him the value of a barrel of wine, which also exists inside the value of a barrel of.
But shouldn't it be the specific item itself? If it's oil, it's oil. How can, even though wine is cheaper than oil, and that's how it automatically kind of covers it? You know what I mean?
But what they're saying, the value, that's what he owed him only the value. They're saying it's like saying, okay, so here's an example. So I just random example. So an iPhone, right? Let's say it costs $1,000. So you gave me $1,000 loan. The witness comes and says, oh, he gave him the loan, the value of the Apple phone 14 or whatever like that, which means $1,000. That's what he's saying. They were just because maybe they were more of a barter society or whatever it was, that they were more easier to compare something to the barrel or something like that rather than saying the actual money. That's possible. Okay,
Got it.
let's move on to
Okay.
the next test. Okay, so what happens is two witnesses come and they both say that this guy lent him money, whatever, $1,000. But one says, I saw him lend it on the third floor. And one says, I saw him lend it on the first floor. Such a case came in front of Rebbe, Beterev Edutan, and he combined their testimony because in the end of the day, everyone agrees that he owes them the money. Everyone agrees it was the same day, same everything. They just disagreeing on the location. Therefore, they're still going to combine the testimony. Is going to owe him the money. Okay, so again, another case of where some part of the testimony is contradicting each other, but yet we're still accepting it. And the Mishnah said when he comes out, he shouldn't. The judges shouldn't say who was trying to be nice and who was trying to be bad, who was trying to get in trouble, who was trying not to. Taner Rabbanan. How we know when he comes out, the judges should not say, "Areni mizake." I wanted to find you not liable, but my colleagues, they wanted to make you liable. Basically, I'm a nice guy. I was trying to not make you pay, and they did. I said, what can I do? There were two more against me. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to be a gossip monger. You're not allowed to go around and gossip among your people. And it says, so someone who shares a secret is considered a gossiper. Therefore, what's going on in Beit Din deliberations is a private matter. That's why nobody's there when they're deliberating. We're not allowed to go ahead and say who said what. Who Talmida? There was a certain student, the Nafek Ale Kala, that a rumor emerged. That he told over a secret that was said in the Beit Midrash. After 22 years, they figured out which student it was. Rav Ami kicked out this kid. This kid 22 years after where he was, so he's probably an older man at this time. He kicked out this student from the study hall. Amar Den Galet Razaya. He said, "This is a person who reveals secrets. It's not. Secrets are secrets, and therefore you shouldn't be the person going around and revealing secrets." I know in today's day and world, they feel like if you reveal secrets, you're a good guy. Not necessarily. Not we're not supposed to be told. We're not supposed to be told. All right, let's move on to the new Mishnah, and we'll try to finish up. Rez Hashem, the plan is to finish the parak actually, what we did on Shabbat. It's not so bad. Calls the man Shemiviraya Saiter Esadim. Unlike in the Goyish world, once you settle a case, the case is settled. Now there is appeals and other things like that. However, in the Jewish world, the Jewish Beit Din, even if the judges say you owe them $500, and then I go and I find two new witnesses to prove otherwise, you could reverse the whole court case. But not only that, if after that the other guy finds new witnesses that goes the opposite way, the whole court case gets renewed again. Calls man raya. Every time they bring a new proof or new witnesses, soteret adim, you can reverse and nullify the verdict. Now, some exceptions. Amar loy, kol ayot sheish lecha. Like the Ran and the Rush, the Beit Din says to him, "Bring all your proofs. Havemi kan ashloshim yom, from today until 30 days. You have 30 days to bring all your proof. Matzav shloshim yom soter. Lachar shloshim yom ein soter. So if he brings it within 30 days, good. He listens to Beit Din, and we'll reverse the course. But if he brings it after 30 days, we won't listen to his proofs anymore. Maya says this. What should we do to this guy? He couldn't find it within 30 days. It wasn't feasible. It wasn't possible. And he found it after 30 days. It's not fair that you are not letting him bring it. It took him a little longer than 30 days. What do you want from him? It took him longer. Halacha in this case is a kavshel megamlil. Even if Beit Din says bring with him a certain amount of time, and you brought it after that certain amount of time, it would still be acceptable, and we can nullify the previous verdict and make a new verdict. Second case, Amar loy have edim. They say to him, "Bring your witnesses." But Amar, this is the part that counts. So Amar, he says, "Ein li edim." I don't have witnesses. Amar, they say to him, "Have you raya? Bring a proof." But Amar, he says, "Ein li raya." I don't have any evidence. Again, he says, "I don't have any evidence." Now they finish the court case, and afterwards he comes back and he says, "Hey, I found the Adam. I have proof." That is it. And no kill him. He is suspect that he forged the evidence or hired false witnesses. We do not believe him. Once he said, "I don't have witnesses, I don't have proof," then all of a sudden he pulls out proof. We don't believe it. This is as well as after the case is closed, or even during the case. We're going to see in the next part. Maya says, Umasaidim. Gamliel says, no. Gamliel says, what do you want from this guy? He thought he didn't have Aiden. That's why he answered no. And now he found out that he did. So of course you should accept it. He thought he didn't have proof, and now he found out that he did. So accept it. Why are we saying no? Halacha in this case is not like Rav Shimon. Halacha in this case is going to be like the Chachamim. And in this case, he says, I don't have. He says, I don't have. Witness says, I don't have proof. And then he brings it later. We don't believe him. To what extent? So even during the court case, they didn't finish the verdict yet. They're still in the initial verdict. And Ra'ash mitchayev badin, and it's even according to Shimon Gamliel. Ra'ash mitchayev badin. V'amar kivu plani v'aduni, o she'otzi raya mitachal pundato, harei zeh eno kelum. Basically, what happens is he's in the initial court case, and they're coming down to the verdict, right? And they asked him initially, "Do you have any proof? Do you have any witnesses?" He says, "No." So now they're dealing with the case, and he realizes that he's about to be made guilty. All of a sudden, pulls out from his back pocket, here I have proof. Or he says, I have here at the door 2 witnesses. So we have to say, what's going on here? Why all of a sudden, last minute, he's pulling it out? And earlier he said no. So he said as follows. Really, what he has is false and fake. And he really didn't want to use it. That he thought he could get away without it. But now that he's becoming guilty, he's reaching out for his last straw, his backup plan. And now all of a sudden he has proof. Now all of a sudden he has witnesses. Therefore, we have to be cautious for this, and we're not going to believe it. He's using a desperate effort to win the case, the way they write it in note 18. So therefore, we won't believe him. Now, the Gemara starts. Rabba bar Rav Huna. Halacha Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. If the court gives a date, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 9 days to bring proof, and he brings it afterwards, it's still good. The halacha is not like the Chachamim. Gemara says Pshita. Why are telling the halacha is not like the Chachamim? It's obvious. Once I know the halacha of Shimon Gamliel, then I already know the halacha is not like the Chachamim. Like the Gemara says, "Ma'u the tema." Hani min lechatchila, aval the avid shapir. Mashmalan the avid mahadrin le. Gemara says, maybe you would have thought that if you would have brought witnesses after the 30th day, he brought it on the 40th day. Okay. And now we don't want to listen to him, even though according to Allah, we should listen to him. But we're going to say, we're going to hold like the Chacham and Bidi Avad, after the fact. We don't listen to him, we're going to listen to the Chacham. Gemara says, no can doing. The halacha is not like the Chacham at all. Therefore, you still have to listen. And if you didn't listen to it, you have to let him come back and bring it. Amar Lav Eidim. If they told him, do you have Eidim? He says, no. Shimon Gamil says, still believe it if he brings it afterwards because he didn't know. And now he brought it. Amar Rabbi Rav Huna, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha, Yidivrei Chachamim. Here the halacha follows the Chachamim. That what? Once he says, I don't know, I don't have evidence, I don't have witnesses, you don't believe him afterwards. Amar Rabbi Rav Huna, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. And halacha is not like a Shimon Gamil. Whereas a pshita. Once you say halacha like the Chachamim, Memela Yadana halacha Shimon Gamil. I know the halacha is not like a Shimon Gamil. Hakemash Milan. Why is it telling us this? Divahi in halacha Shimon Gamil. Here the halacha is like a Shimon Gamil. Habechulu halacha kev Shimon Gamil. However, every other Mishnah, if it ever brings the opinion of Shimon Gamil, the halacha is like a Shimon Gamil. That's why it's saying here the halacha is like a Shimon Gamil. But everywhere else, the halacha is like a Shimon Gamil. Now, this is a little bit in contradiction to another statement. The Mishnah table. Anywhere in the Mishnah it says this is the opinion of Shimon Gamil. Halacha kimoto. The halacha is like him, chutz, except for 3 cases. Although the other opinion of the Gemara says only 1 case. Our case, there are actually 2 other cases. The halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Chutz me'arev. This is an arev. This is a guarantor, someone who guarantees to pay someone else's loan if he defaults on the loan. So exactly the circumstances about that, the machlokes between Shimon Gamliel and Chachamim, the halacha is not like Shimon Gamliel there. Then Sidon. This is a case that happened in Sidon, and this was about a get, where the husband said to the wife, "If you give me back my cloak, I'll give you a get." And she lost the cloak, but yet she paid the value of the cloak. And Shimon Gamliel says the get is the get. Chachamim said no, or vice versa. I don't remember who said what, but anyway, the halacha there is not like Shimon Gamliel. Whatever Shimon Gamliel held, the halacha is not like him. Uraya Achroina, and this last proof that we just talked about, our Mishnah of him bringing a proof after he said, "I have no proof." The halacha is not like Shimon Gamliel. Rather, the halacha is like the Chachamim in these cases. Now the Gemara brings Ahu Yanuka, the Tavur Ladina, Kamedi Rav Nachman. Amar lei, 8 loch sahade. Amar lei loy. 8 loch raya. Amar lei loy. Chayvei Rav Nachman. Okay, so what's this case? Case is as follows. There was a young man, his father died. He got a Yerusha from his father. He has, including in their land. Now, someone's father has a loan, or someone's father owes money. In Judaism, the child still has to pay that loan back. He has to pay it back. So now the creditors are coming and they're saying your father owes us money from the land or from whatever. And the child, whether he's still a child or he's an adult, according to most say he's an adult at this time, they're bringing him to Beit Din. He comes to Beit Din and now they ask him, do you have any proof that your father paid it? Do you have any witnesses that your father paid it? And Amalei, he says, no, I don't have anything. I don't know. He says no. So Rav Nachman said, Chaim Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said he has to pay. He says he doesn't have. So now what happens? So the child went out to the marketplace and he started crying because he's losing a lot of money. And there were some people there heard him crying. They heard the case and they said, Amru. They said to him, we know for a fact that your father paid it, and we can become the witnesses. Nachman said, you have witnesses after you said you didn't have witnesses? However, we're going to believe you. Even the rabbis would agree here. The Chachamim. Why? The Yanuka Milka the Yanuka Bimile, the Avua, lo Yada. Because a child in his father's affairs, he's not knowledgeable. Meaning when he said, I don't have, right? It's not because he said, I don't have, knowing that he doesn't have. But rather, he's saying, I don't know what my father has. I don't know if he has weaknesses. I don't know if anything. I don't know my father's affairs. That's why he's saying he doesn't have. So now, he said it. Now that they coming and saying, oh, we do know, it's not that he said, I don't have. And now making false witnesses. He said, I don't know, and I don't have because I really don't know. I really don't have. Then later on, they came. Therefore, we would accept it, even according to the Chacham. That would be a lot. Okay, now coming to another interesting case. Okay, so let's set up this case. So Mr. Ephraim, very nice guy, he lends me $10,000. Okay, we write up a shtar chay, we write up a note of obligation that says that Moshe owes Ephraim $10,000. Now, for whatever reason, Ephraim gives this note to a third person. Okay, it even could be a woman. So let's say he gives it to Gitti. Okay, gives it to Gitti. That's the case. And now what happens is as follows. So let's see. This Gitti, this woman comes out, and she has a note that says that I owe Ephraim $10,000. Amrle, she says to the court, Yadana b'haishtara defriyahava. I know that Moshe paid this debt. Now, nowhere on the note it says it was paid off. There's no receipt to this. She is the only one who's coming and saying, here, it's in my hand. I have it. And he paid it. So she came to Rav Nachman and did this. And Hemna Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman believed her. I'm going to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, come on, who are you holding like? Are you holding like Rabbi? Rabbi held that when you're giving over a shtar choy, let's say Ephraim wants to give the money that I owe him, he wants to give it to someone else, so the money has to go to them. According to Rabbi, all you have to do is just give that note to them, because the whole document will go through giving of the note. According to the Chachamim, it doesn't work that way. You have to give the shtar choy, the note of obligation, and you have to give another note that says I gave it to that third person. So are you saying we hold like Rabbi, that once he gave it over to the woman, the whole thing becomes hers, and therefore she's able to say it's paid off or not paid off, that she has the ownership? But we don't hold it's not like Rabbi. The Gemara, the Rav Nachman says, no, this is not the case. Amar lei, shani hacha the iboye kalta. Basically, no one knew it was in her possession. All of a sudden, she shows up with it. So she shows up with it. Whether she actually owns that debt or not now, whether he gave it to her or not, we don't know. All we know is she's showing up with that note. Okay? So Ephraim's in court saying, I owe him $10,000. He's got no note on him. He doesn't prove anything. So now Gitti comes with this shtar that says, I owe him $10,000. And she says, I paid it. The Moshe paid the shtar. He paid the chav, he paid the obligation. So now, Rav Nachman says, that's why we believe it. Why? Because he has no proof. And she could have taken that shtar that says, the Moshe owes Ephraim $10,000, and she could have burned it. And if she could have burned it, no one would be any of the wiser, and there'd be no proof, no documentation, and I would never owe anybody anything. The fact that she comes with the documentation, and now she says it was paid, we're going to have to believe that it was paid, because she could have burnt it instead, and she didn't. Therefore, Rav Nachman believed her. Okay, that's one version of the story. Ika the Amrei, somehow a different version. Loi himno Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman didn't believe her. Rav Nachman. So Rabbi said to Rav Nachman, if she wanted, talte, she could have just burned the note, and no one would have been any wiser, and there would be no testimony, and there would be no case. So why don't we believe her? He says, Kivan the itchazik v'veidina, ibai kaltelo emrina. You learn like Tosfos. Tosfos says, what this means is, Rav Nachman says, you're right, she could have burned it. You're right, 100%. But The fact that it's in court right now, the document has now been delivered in court. I can't stop. I cannot start thinking what could have been with the document. I have to deal with the document that's in front of me right now in court. It's been established, it's been certified, it's here. Yeah, she could have burned it. Yeah, she could have done this, she could have done that. You're right, 100%. She could have flushed it down the toilet for all we care. But at the end of the day, we have it invented right now. We have to deal with what we have. As such, I cannot believe it. The document says that he owes. There's no proof on the document that anything was paid off. That's where Nachman didn't want to believe it. So now the Gemara is going to question Rav Nachman's the second version of Nachman's ruling that he didn't believe it. Eitel Rav Nachman, we have a bracket that says as follows: Sifmon sheyesh alav edim, a receipt that has witnesses on it. Yitkayem b'chutmav. The witnesses that are certified will be the signers, and we know it's been paid. Ein alav edim. If the receipt does not have a witness in it, but a third person comes and he says, "Here's the receipt, no signatures on it," but he says it was paid, right? Or they have the debt, the note that says he owes the money, and on it is signatures that it was paid. Kasher. In all these cases, we'll believe that it's paid. So what was the middle case? The middle case was a third party comes and says, "I have the document and it was paid." We believe it. We see a third party is believed if they have the document in their hand. So Yufta the Rav Nachman, it's the refutation according to the second version of Rav Nachman that he didn't believe her. Rather, she would be believed. When a third party comes with a note that either the chayiv or the receipt and no signatures on it, we're not sure what's going on with it, but yet she comes with it and she says, "This is the story," we're going to believe that third party with the note that they bring, because they could have burnt it instead and there would be no case. So now they come with a note and they say this is the circumstances around it, we would believe it. Okay, moving on. The author of Dimi Yochanan, a person can always bring proof again and again after the case has been closed, and he can nullify a verdict and go again the case until he closes the arguments by saying he has no further evidence. Once he says, "I have nothing left," then he can never go back. But then the Rav Dimi said, and then he can say, "Oh, I do have more witnesses." So the Gemara says, "One second, what are you telling me?" First, you tell me he says, "I don't have any more proof." You're holding like the rabbis that say that once you say you have no more proof, the case is closed. You can't go on anymore. And then you say, no, you can say, "I have more." He brings more. Now you're saying of Shem Gamliel. So which way is it? What do Rabbi Yochanan hold? Like the Rabbanon of Shem Gamliel. He came a cool Shem Gamliel. If you want to say, no, really, it's the whole thing of Shem Gamliel. Prushe Kami Farish. And you have to explain it. What does it mean? My ad shishtatam tanutav. What does it mean when he says I don't have it? What does it mean when it says until he closes his arguments? Doesn't mean he says I don't have any more proof. Ad shiyarme kirvu plenty v'yaduni. Rather, he says his final argument is, "Oh, I have this and this person to bring." So I'm a Rabbi Barchan Rabbi Yochanan. Can't learn that way. Why? Because we know the halacha is not like a Shomim Gamliel. That once a person says, "I don't have any more proof," then he can no longer bring any more proof because the halacha is like the Chamim and not like a Shomim Gamliel. So you can't learn the Braita according to Shomim Gamliel. Ela, the author of Shmuel Bar Yehuda Rabbi Yochanan, the oil maybe right beside there. As long as the person did not say, "I don't have any more proof," he continued to bring proof. Until he closed his arguments. How? They say, "Bring proof." Do I have no witnesses? Bring evidence. I don't have any evidence. Then he's not allowed to bring any more proof after that date, according to the Chachamim. Let's say comes witnesses from over the seas, people he didn't know existed. people he didn't think knew what happened, and now they show up and they know, or documents belonging to his father who passed away is suddenly brought to him from someone who it was with, right? So when he said, I don't have any more, he really said it because he didn't have it. But now all of a sudden it became aware to him that he did have a rezim. In this case, he could come and bring new proof even after he said, I don't have any more proof. Because what? When he said, I don't have any more proof, he said, I don't have any more proof. What I have, what I know. It's like the child, right? He didn't know his father's affairs. Same thing here. I didn't know that there exist certain people that didn't know the case or didn't have proof. So now that they bring it, it would be acceptable. He also Rav Dimi Omer Rav Yochanan. Hataykef es chaveru b'din. Echad omer nadun kan, ve'echad omer nelech l'mokum avad. Koifin otoy ve'yelech l'mokum avad. Two people are in a court, in a court case. Right? They want to go to Beit Din. One says, I want to go to the Beit Din of the city. The other one says, no, I want to go to the Beit Din that's more established, that's further away. So here, Rav Dimi said, Rav Yochanan, what do? You take him to the more established court, not to the one that's in the city. I'm in the front of Elazar. Elazar said to him, really? Rabbi, Mishin Shiva Haveru Mana, Yosef Mana Al Mana, and the Kofino Tove Dam Be'ido. Says 1 second. Ruvain lends $100 to Shimon. Now Shimon doesn't want to pay it. So Shimon now says, oh, let's go to the big city and let's go make the court case there. So now Ruvain lends 100, and I asked to spend $100 more on travel expenses, on hotel expenses, and everything else that costs to go somewhere else. It doesn't make any sense. Rather, you take him and you force him to go to his own city. Itmar Nami, Amra Safra, Shnayim Shinitzau Badin, Chedom Nadukan, Bechad Omen Nelch Makom Avad, Kofina Tov Adam Be'ido. So I said, Rav Safra, two people are arguing, you take him to the place of the city. You don't have to go to the bigger Beit Din. Now, the person who wanted to go to the Vad, right? He wanted to go to the bigger one. Let's say during their court case, something needs to be asked of the Sanhedrin. So what do? They don't transfer the case to the Sanhedrin. Rather, they send documents, they send notes, questions to the Beit Din, to the Sanhedrin, and they send them back what to do. Imamar, and if the litigant who says, I didn't want to be here, right? I want to go to the other one. Let's say it decided against him. He can say to the judges, write for me what you judged and why you judged and give it to me. Only in such a case can he get such a document. Then he can use his document to bring it to somewhere else to show them, see if they can fix it up. But only in that case where he didn't want to go to that court. But if he willingly went to the court, then he cannot get it written up exactly the details of what happened. But now, more brings another case. So if a woman, her husband died without having any children, and she falls to her husband's brother as a yibum, right, as a yavama, where does, let's say the husband's brother doesn't want to take her as a yibum, he wants to make chalitza and let her go. Where does it happen? Whose city? Her city or his city? The Gemara says you have to go to his city. Ad kama, how much you require the woman to travel? Even to Tiberi to Tzipori, which was a big distance. But why is this? What's the pasuk? It says in pasuk, and the elders of the city shall call to him, the elders of his city, not the elders of her city. Therefore, the Beit Din of his city gets precedence of that case. Amra Meimer, Hilchatab. Amir said, no, you got to take him to the big assembly. When you have a court case and one wants to go to the bigger one, you take him to the bigger one. No, you have to force him in his own city. Like we're saying, it's not worth it for the guy who owed him the money, the guy who lent him the money to now spend more money to try to get the money back from him. Not worth it. The Gemara says, now, truth is, there is sometimes you will be able to go to the bigger Beit Din. When is this? Hani mili? No. Evan, Lovel, Ishmael there. It depends who's saying that I want to go to the bigger bet. If the guy who borrowed the money is saying it, we don't listen to him because it's not worth it to the person who's loaning it to go through all that trouble. But if the person who is loaning it, he, the one who gave the money, he wants to go to the bigger city, he will force the other one to go to the bigger betin. Why? The person who is a borrower is a slave to the lender. Lovel, Eved Lovel, Ishmael. The Love is the person who borrowed it, is a servant to the one who lended it. We'll end off with the last piece in this parak. Shalchu led Mar Ukva. They sent from Tiberia a letter to Mar Ukva, who was the head in Bavel. And they told to him, Ledziv le kevar bitya, to the one who has the face like the son of Bitya. So who's Bitya? Bitya is what today they call colloquially Batya, which was the daughter of Paro, right? So who is Batya's son? Well, she raised Moshe, right? So they told him to the one who has a face that shines like Moshe Rabbeinu, Kabad Bitya. Now, why was his face shining like Moshe Rabbeinu? Here Rashi brings down. You'll see the Rashi with Ziv le kevar bitya. It's on the left column, right? You look where it says Kahelet in the parentheses. You go down one line. It says as follows: Mitzati b'sefer Agada, and I found in the story portions, Agadic portions, Shahaya Mar Ukva Bal Tshuva, that Mar Ukva was a Bal Tshuva. Shenatan Einav b'isha achat, v'hala libo teinav v'nafal b'choli, v'eshet ish hayata. Mar Ukva fell in love with a married woman, and he very much wanted to be with her. And he got so sick from it, they ended up staying home. Ve'leyamim nitzarcha lelovet mimenu, umetoch tuchka nitzratit lo. So one day, as he's home, sickly in love with a woman that he can't be with, she shows up at the door. She shows up and says, I need to borrow from you money. And I'm so pressed for it. I'm willing to submit to your desires and be with you as a married woman. And what happened? He withstood his Yetzer Hara. And he sent her in peace. And he got better. He got healed. And the first time he went to the market, and after since then, he had a halo on top of his head, and it was from heaven. Everyone saw that it was a light coming out from him. They called him Rabbi Natan Sotzita. And therefore they called Mar Ukva, and that was Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva was Rabbi Natan Sotzita. He was about tshuva. He was someone who was able to withstand. That's why he had the light on him. That's why they called him like Moshe Rabbeinu, because he had light like Moshe Rabbeinu. Interesting story. I'm sure you've heard it before, but this is one of the sources for it. So what do they write in the letter to him? Shalem, peace. Listen, there's a case going on between Ukvan and Yirmiyah. What did Ukvan say? Ukvan says, my brother Yirmiyah took away from me the way of men. Basically, he castrated him. Or he cheated him in money, depending on the way you learn. But basically, Yirmiyah did something really bad. But Amrulo, so tell him, and send him up to Tiberia. What are they writing here? First, they're telling him the case. Why they're telling him the case? It seems to be they want him to judge it. Then they say, send him to Tiberia. They want him to send them to here. So, they want him to judge it, or they don't want him to judge it? And rather, this is what was happening. You judge it. If he listens to you, good. If If he doesn't, he's over open in with Tiberias. Then send him up here to Tiberias. Rashi says no. Really, they never wanted Mar Ukba to judge this case. This was a case of knas, of penalty. And we already learned that penalty cases cannot be judged outside of Eretz Yisrael. It has to be, it could be judged outside Israel. You have to have rabbis who have smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu and to pass down from Moshe Rabbeinu. And in Babel, you can't give smicha. And there were no rabbis at the time in Babel who had smicha. Therefore, since the case of penalties, you couldn't judge it in Babel, had to be judged in Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, they said, send him. But the reason why they sent it to him, and it seemed as if they wanted him to judge the case, was not because he could judge the case. Rather, they wanted to give some kavod to Marukba, someone who's a big Baal Tshuva, someone who was a Kovish Yitzro, who fought up his desire. So they wrote it in such a way. But really, the truth is, they never meant for him to judge the case. Baruch Hashem, we've already accomplished a great feat by finishing the third parak in Masechet Sanhedrin. Bez Hashem, next week we'll pick up with chapter 4. Any questions at this time?
Why did they say Mar Ukwa is Baal Teshuva if he did nothing wrong?
He did do something wrong. His desire for a married woman was already a wrong thing. So, the halacha l'maaseh, this is a very strong halacha, something that a lot of people may not realize or may not think it's so bad. Actually, bad thoughts of arayut, bad thoughts of improper sexual relationships is already considered a sin, even without committing that sin. Just the thought alone. Usually we say bad thoughts are not considered a sin, right? Usually that's what we say. Machshavot ra'ot are not considered a sin. That is true to a limit. When it comes to arayot, when it comes to forbidden relationships, just thinking about them is already considered a sin. Yeah. You ever heard that before, or that's a chidush?
Yes, I heard.
Right. So if that's the case, then he definitely made a sin. Yeah.
What did I miss?
I'm not sure. I don't know where you're coming and going.
I got disconnected and it took me a
What's the
while.
last thing you heard?
And so the answer is, with all these scenarios, do we follow the Chachamim or how does it go?
In which case?
So every case was different, right? So I thought it would be a more universal answer in there, and that's why I didn't want to ask.
No.
In the middle.
When it comes to bringing proof,
Yes.
when it comes if the bet thing gives you a deadline, in the office of Shimon Gamil, you don't have to listen to the deadline. You can bring even after the deadline and still be accepted.
Okay.
And the Allah is like the Chachamim, where if a person says, I don't have any more, and then he brings, then we don't listen to him. Unless it's really a case that he didn't really know he had it, and then he just showed up, then we would believe him. But in most cases, we wouldn't believe him if he says he didn't have any more. Okay?
And the judges are still the same?
It could be the same. Yeah, it could be the same judges, it could be different judges. I don't think it has to be the same judges. Well, the case is just reopened. You can be so there. But I might be wrong on that. We'll check into it.
All right. So once they make a decision, he could an individual could still bring future witnesses.
Yep. And even go more than that. You got the next guy can do the same thing, bring more witnesses. And the next guy can bring more witnesses. The case seems to never be ending until he says, I have no more witnesses. I have no more proof. Then he can't bring anymore. So it's possible. I don't know what they do in Beit Din nowadays, but maybe they do say, do you have any more? And they ask him those questions, hoping he says no. This way they know they don't have to go back to the case. I don't know if that's what they do. But I'm saying that would be a way to ensure that the case remains closed. Otherwise, you're always open for more witnesses to come. Okay?
So, yep.
All right, let me close the recording. There's a sham here. Let's close this up.